Hi friends, today in this video I'm going to talk about how to create a dashboard in Excel. Generally people thought that we have a Power BI tool in which we can create a dashboard or other tools also. But yes, we can create a very beautiful dashboard in Excel also. So let me basically show you step by step how to create dashboard in Excel. So I'm just going to show you what exactly we are going to create in this video. So we are going to create this dashboard in Excel, which is which is showing the pivots, the graphs, and then if I'll click on any slicer, my data going to change and the timeline also. So I hope you guys are, it's going to be very helpful to you. So let me start from the scratch how to create the dashboard. For dashboard, basically, we have the data like order date, region, customer, item, units, unit cost, and total. I have to create first of all, the pivot out of it. So I'm going to create 3 pivots. To create a pivot, I'm just going to select the data using Control A and then going to press Alt N V and T. Now it's asking me where I want the pivot. So I'm saying new worksheet and press enter. Otherwise, you can say insert and pivot table also. As soon as I create pivot table, I got one sheet. In my case, it is named as sheet 2 and I have all my fields. So the thumb rule of the pivot is the selection. If I keep the cursor outside, my pivot table field list will go. So the pivot cursor always has to be in this area. And the 2 tabs, pivot table analyze and design. This will also disappear if I keep the cursor outside. So I'll just keep the cursor inside. So my first pivot, I want the region and the total. So I got the region wise total. So like suppose if I want the central on top. So generally people think we have to sort the data, but in sort, if I do and say sort suppose A to Z, so it will not come. Similar way Z to A will also not work. To move a specific data point in pivot, you have to say right click and the option comes move and now say move central to the beginning. So in this way, you can customize what maybe product or what region you want on top. Now I want to create a donut chart of this data because in my dashboard, I want to use a donut chart. I'm going to keep the cursor anywhere in the pivot and now I'll go to insert. In insert, you have the option of pie. Under pie, the last option is of the donut chart. So my donut chart is ready in which it is showing the central, east and west. But what I want to do is I want to show in these regions the data percentage wise. Fine. To display data in the percentage format. If you see if you just keep the cursor, you will be able to see it is showing 57% in central, but I want to display on my donut slice. For that, I'll go to plus sign. I go to data labels and then I'll go to more options. If I click on more options, then there's an option of percentage and uncheck the value. As soon as I uncheck the value, I got the percentage and I can decide basically which all other things I want. Suppose if I want category name, I can display the category name. But for time being, I'm just only displaying the percentage. Now I want to basically make this donut hole size a thicker one. I want a thick donut. I'll right click, I'll go to format data series and the option is there donut hole size. Now decrease the donut hole size and you'll see it becomes thicker. The other interesting option is, so I'm making it near 60%. Other interesting option is this angle of first slice. If you click on angle of first slice and keep on increasing, you see your donut moving. So if suppose I want 57% on the left side, I can rotate the donut by using this option angle of first slice. One more interesting option, go to design and then you have the change colors and you can make this colorful donut. So in this way, my donut chart is ready. I'm removing the header. So we got the donut region wise. Okay, now as we are done with the donut chart, now we are going to create the next chart. So I'm going to create the pivot again using Alt NVT. And now this time I'm going to use item and unit cost. So I have over here the item and the unit cost, and I'm going to create clustered column chart, but 3D one. So I'm going to create this chart, 3D column chart. So to make it more basically like, having more option in it, I'll just choose plus sign and go to data labels, uncheck the grid lines and remove the chart title. And we are done with this chart. So we got this basically like, the unit cost, and we have the data item versus unit cost. So we made the second pivot. Now we are going to make the third and the last pivot. So I'm going to create the pivot chart and click on OK. And this time I'm going to choose order date. And over here, I'm going to choose the total. So once I got the order date and the total, my whenever I choose a date in the pivot, it start going to give me in the format of years, fine. And if you click on plus sign, the quarters and so on. So I'll say right click and I'll say group, and I want only years and month and not the quarters. So I'll click on OK. So my data comes years and months. And now I'll go to design, report layout and choose show in tabular form. Once I choose show in tabular form, so my data start coming in years, month and total. Now I'll say right click, I'll go to group, and instead of months, I'll choose quarters. Once I click on OK, so I want year wise, quarter wise data and the line chart. So I'll go to insert, recommended charts, and from here I'll choose the line chart and I'm going to choose line with markers. Click on OK, and hence we got line and marker chart. As you got the line with the marker chart, so now basically if I want, I can change the marker style, size and the color. So I'll click on the line, right click, and I'll go to format data series. In series, I'll go to fill. Then there's option comes marker and choose marker options. And I'll go to built-in, and maybe I'm choosing this rhombus. Now I'll go to fill. I want red markers. From fill, I'll choose the red, and here we got the red markers. If you want, you can increase the size also. So I'm just making it to 6 point. So this is much more impactful, and I can create this way line with marker. Now I want to display the value also. So I'll just say data labels, and we got the value. I'm going to uncheck the grid lines and uncheck the chart title, so it gives me the clear chart. Similar way legend also. So yes, we got a very clear chart. Sometimes maybe some figures are contradicting, like it's coming on the line, so you can select that particular and drag that manually, only that one. Wherever you think the numbers are not visible properly, you can select that one by basically clicking again, and then you can simply drag wherever you wish to. So hence we are ready with three charts. One is the donut, second is the 3D clustered, and the third one is line with marker. Now let's create the final dashboard. So for final dashboard, again, I want the two pivots over here. So the first pivot, I only want the unit cost and the units. So we have the sum of units and the unit cost. Now below I want one more pivot which display the customer wise total. So I'm just going to say copy and paste. So in one sheet you can copy paste and can have different pivot on it. So I'm going to choose from here the customer and uncheck the units and units cost and going to choose the total. So over here now I'm just going to sort because I want to see which customer is doing best. So I can say sort and this then sort largest to smallest. Now the charts which I've already created, I'm just going to say copy, and on my main sheet I'm going to paste it. Now over here you have to make the adjustment so that it comes in one sheet. So I'm going to reduce the size of my this donut, and I can basically like remove the legend also, or maybe we can say legend on top. If you want to keep the legend, you can make it top. Then also basically you have to remove the chart title so that my chart is very much visible. So I think basically it's not looking nice as my legend is still taking a lot of space. So I'm going to remove the legend so that my donor chart is very much visible. Yes, now we are done. If you want to be more specific, display the category name on the donut chart. Now the next is just going to copy this order date, year wise, quarter wise total. So copy, and then I'll basically come to this sheet and paste this chart. The next chart we have left with is the 3D clustered column chart. So I'll go over here and simply copy paste it. You have to only say copy paste, not the paste special. Now the next task is to create the slicer. To create the slicer, you have to keep the cursor in the pivot, go to pivot table analyze, and I'm going to create the slicer for region, customer, and click on OK. So I have over here the region, the customer. So wherever you have the white space, you can just reduce it so that only region is visible. So I'm just going to put the region over here. The customer, I want in horizontal so that I have a horizontal slicer. To have the horizontal slicer, just keep the cursor on the slicer, go to slicer and make the columns as 4. Once you got the columns at 4, you will see the horizontal slicer. So you can decide how many columns you want. Now I want a timeline. To get a timeline, again keep the cursor on the pivot, go to pivot table analyze and use the option insert timeline. Now if you press on OK, you will see a timeline like this. Fine. So timeline can, again, you can decide how you want. It can be on the basis of months. It can be basically on the basis of quarters or days. So I'm keeping it month. To beautify it, you can click on the slicer, go to slicer and give it any color which you want. So I'm choosing the orange color. Similar way, I'll go to region and I'm going to choose the green color. And you can change the color for the order date also. So many colors are there for order date timeline. So let's choose blue color. Fine. Now, if you see, they are still not connected. So if I'll click on the region, my data is not changing. My graphs are not changing. Reason why? Abhi we have not have any connection with these 3 pivots. So what we have to do is I have to go to slicer. This is the main point to create a dashboard. So you have to go to region, right click, and the option comes report connection. If you go to report connection, it will ask you all the pivot tables. So we have the pivot table 1, 3, 4, and 5. So I'm going to check box on them, all the pivots which we have created, and click on OK. The same thing you have to do it for the timeline. Right click, report connection, click on the pivots, checkbox it, and click on OK. Similar thing I'm going to do it for the customer, report connection, and choose it. And now my full-fledged dashboard is ready. So if I click on any of the region, my graph's going to change, my data going to change. Again, to make it more beautiful, you can just say view and remove the Excel grid lines. So it becomes white, and double click on any of the tab and you got full-fledged area for the dashboard. Once your work is done, you can hide the rest of the sheets, as I only want to show the dashboard to my boss or my client. I hope you guys are going to like this video and implement in your work. If you like this video, do write on a comment. And if you have any any suggestion, I'll be very happy to listen that. Thank you all of you. Thank you very much. So do make a lot of dashboards and keep growing. Thank you.